Good day and welcome to another video here at Jaguar E Type, the original, explained in details. Today I'm showing you a few important or interesting things which become difficult to show when the engine is installed, so I'm doing it now. And we are talking here, the actual car is the 66 fixed head coupe, left hand drive. It is a number I can show you here. It is the original number, the original wind plate. Yeah, it is 885066. Body number is 97. It is not exactly the same as the body text says. We are a few numbers off, but that is how do we know that this is original? And it happened to other cars as well. You see here, this is the bonnet support bracket, and you see this is squared, and this is how the early were. So later ones had the 45 degrees grinded off here on both sides, so you could just swap them on each side. Then we see here the some bolts. These are the B's, 45 R55 is R rated, and that is throughout. And this is how all 60 cars were assembled. They all had JKN, RUNF, B's 45, 55, or Linred R rated, but they always had R rated bolts. I'm showing you just a few examples here. So this is the Linred, is R rated, and it is a hell of work to restore original bolts, and therefore I very much appreciate if someone does it. And this is where the engine frame is mounted to the bulkhead. So this is later is not visible really, because you have the air filter tank on here, canister on here, and also here in every hidden place you find the original nuts and bolts. So this is the the screen jet washer tank, and yeah, this is actually has a function. In here you fill in the antifreeze and cleaning, and that's a mixture ratio between the fluid and the water. So this goes back in here. This one here is the original, and it's also dated. You can see. So let me see if you can see that is dated. Should be seen here. Yeah, that is 260, or is it 1260? Yeah. However, it is 60, and these were also used on the MK models. And so we go on here, and here we have the original wiper motor. It's dated 261, and what I did here, I replaced all the wires because they all became same color, like dark. They're all black, brown, dark, and you can't distinguish the colors anymore. So what I did, I sourced these texture wires, and I soldered them in the engine, tested the motor, and everything works perfect. So this is another sign for a good originality restoration work. Yeah, again here you have the black covers for the connectors, same as you see here on the screen jet pump. And yep, there you see the Trico writing on the vacuum tank for the brake. It seems to be upside down. That's not by mistake, that's how it was and still is. Then we have the bonnet catch here. Don't forget that. It is annoying when you assemble the car and you have the bonnet always on and off. You have to take that in. And I was driving one day a car which didn't have that on. We forgot to lock the bonnet with the side locks, and in traffic I was braking and bonnet open, and I was just blind, couldn't see any traffic at all. Another thing is here, this is the adjuster for the wiper mechanism, the stop function, and you see this is the early type, and I've here another one which is a later, and you see the form is slightly different. So this is, would say, a bit rough, and this is a bit finer, and these are very hard to find, but the original car should have it, because that was only used, I think, for a year, and then were these which were used for many years. So you see the difference. This is here, this is a later one, and installed is the early one. You also have here some shinny clamps, and I wanted to show you this one here. This one says AGS, and that is the early type. Later ones had BS. So all the early cars, they only should have AGS and that number. Some did even have patent applied or patent, yeah, on it. And here's another one which has the AGS 605, and those clamps are everywhere on this car. So next thing I wanted to show you is the original fluid reserve tanks for the brake and clutch. These are the original covers, and you see there's no patent on it. These were just plain, and these are the early original ones. Later ones had a patent on it, and even later ones were red, which were round, and you see here again the black sleeves in here. This is the original clutch, and you see in there's a sieve in there. This is the how they look, and again here you have the original R-rated screws. These are original new old stock early type brake master cylinders, and they do have a small Dunlop writing on it. I know there you see that. It's very small on the side. On the other side there's a triangle and the number. The triangle is on the early cars only, and later ones didn't have that. What I like to see is here this nut, this nylon nut. This is a long skirt nylon nut, and it's an original. You recognize that with the rings on it, also identifying the tensile strengths. And what I like very much, Jaguar really was very keen on not having too much bolt looking out of the nut, so that makes it very neat, and I love to see that. I hate when I see the modern nuts where you have 4 or 5 thread rings coming out, and it just does not look right. So this is how I want to see it, and this is how it was original. This is the original clutch master cylinder. You have the writing on the side, again in small letters. Others had a big bold writing on the side, indicating 7/8 or 4/3, 3/4, and so I got a stainless sleeve in here to avoid any hassle. Then we have here, this is the early type of pedal box. You see this is a brass bearing and is only mounted with one screw, whereas the later type had 2 screws and no brass, but a kind of retainer which holds the pedal shaft in place. So that's another indication for the early cars. You see here, this is the Kelsey Hayes rather than the Dunlop. This is Kelsey Hayes, which has the air bleeding screw on this side rather than on this side, and so this is the original writing on here. This is all original as factory. The last thing I wanted to show is yet these hinges for the battery holder. These are clamps. These are wing nuts, butterfly wing nuts, and I have put them here. And there were 2 types. On the left, you see the long flat, what the later cars did not have. So on the left you see the one which is more flat. The nuts are the same, and but the clamp here is different on the later cars. So this is the early one, and it's pretty hard to get these. You might be able to make them yourself, but it requires some work. And I think I've shown you a few nice details. You can look out at your own car, and just repeating here, these were squared. Again, here on the other side, here are all the original nuts, R-rated. S-rated was later. Here is the original solenoid, and what I have here is a modern reproduction battery. Is a bit expensive, but it looks better on the original car. You spend so much time and money to get everything correct that you don't want to have a modern battery in there which doesn't look correct. Okay, and I'm just leaving you with these. These are the engine mounts, and you see here again, this is all the original stuff. There's no joking, no kidding about originality. And those who don't appreciate the original, they can buy anything else. What you can reproduce every day, as many as you want. One last thing while we are here. The early cars, they had a hollow upper steering rack. You see, this is welded on here. So the yoke here has a ring here, and the hollow shaft comes in here. These are a lot lighter than the later ones, and they are just welded on to that outer ring from the yoke, and also here that rubber seal here to avoid penetrating exhaust fume to the engine, to the driver cabin. This has a different, it's not the buffer type, but just a flat silicone or rubber. And yeah, I think I've shown you everything you need to know from the engine bay before the engine goes in. You see down there, I did some insulation, heat insulation, because I know these cars do become really hot inside when you're driving them. So forgive me for that, but this car is not for show, but also for driving. Thank you very much. See you next time. Subscribe, please, and thumbs up.